morning. Today is Monday the 18th of May. It would have been the first day of the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland, and in honour of that great institution and event, I am going to be talking about a few of the people who led, challenged, fought with the church and encouraged the church over the years. Now, let me begin with a psalm. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. Though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. There is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. God is in the midst of her, she shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. The heathen raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Come, behold the works of the Lord. What desolations he hath made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Now, today I'm going to talk a little bit about Professor John Baillie, who is one of those amazing people who was the bridge between the old Victorian theology and the theology of Barth and Moltmann in the light of the Second World War. So, he was born and educated in Edinburgh and also in New York and in Germany. The Professor Tom Torrance, who is a highly renowned individual, whose father is actually buried there, said, from the very roots of his being, Baillie worshipped God with his heart and his mind, and was so tuned into the grace and love of Christ that he constantly sought to live out the revealed mind of God in his open relationships with others within and without the church. Right, let me see if I can do this. Here we are. Oh, we're windblown today. And so, John Baillie, his whole experiences were shaped and moved by both the First and also the Second World War. He served for the Church of Scotland huts and canteens and the YWCA during the First World War, and he was utterly shaped by the experience, thinking that the words that he said might be the last words that some of these men might hear before they went to the front line and met their Maker. He was very keen that the congregation to whom he spoke should hear eternal things, and he was very touched by the great gift he was given in being able to serve during the First World War. It also influenced his teaching years later. Let me turn round so you can see his grave while I talk. Ooh, there we are. He wrote many years later, and most of it's still handwritten in the archives. He wrote, "The years, not much less than 4, which I spent in France during the war, were fallow years for me, as for so many others. I hardly read either a page of divinity or of metaphysic, and I had little time or opportunity for consecutive thinking. Yet the period brought with it a great broadening of experience, and above all such an understanding of mind and temper. When I turned again to my old pursuits after the war, the khaki figures still seemed to keep their place in the background of my mind, and in much of what I have written since these days. A clairvoyant reader may find them haunting the margins of the page. He became a professor, he taught, he was highly regarded in the church, and then at the height of his academic work, the Second World War began, and in February 1940 he up sticks, took his car, and off he went as the professor of theology to France and to Belgium. He was based near Arras in France, and he organised all the education and the religion for the troops who were out there. 3 months later, he and his colleagues found themselves travelling south at great speed to Saint Malo, where they escaped on a boat to Britain. I've read his handwritten diaries, and they're very funny because, as well as all the worries, a lot of what he writes about are the bread and the cheese he ate that the locals gave him and he bought on his way to Saint Malo. Shortly after that, he wrote a theology of war. Very interesting. He said, "Dare we say God is on our side? That can hardly be the right way to put it. It is doubtful whether we should ever speak of God as taking a side in human conflicts. It is for us to be on his side rather than God to be on ours." And then, as soon as he got back, the General Assembly happened, and he was appointed to write a special report. It was called the Commission for the Interpretation of God's Will in this Present Crisis. It was also known as the Bailey Commission. And in 1942 he wrote, "Economic power must be objectively responsible to the community as a whole. The possessors of economic power must be answerable for the use of that power, not only to their own consciences, but to appropriate social organs." Now there's a thought for the day as we live through the present time. Perhaps the church needs a special commission today to consider where we are and what we're about, where we're going, not only as a church but also as a society, so that we might be integrally involved in promoting and influencing our society. He became moderator of the General Assembly and was highly regarded. He was a good man, and for that we give thanks. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Amen.